Someone said, why am I going to pay $500 for a picture of a hobo?
I always thought Kyle Beckerman was a good player.
Fire sticking their foot in it.
They said they were going to cut my food rations.
Cork soaking.
There is no possible way to articulate the malaise, the lack of ambition, the way it's felt for so long to be a fan better than he did. Welcome, everybody. This is the Enemies of the Fire podcast, and this week we are doing a lot of weird stuff, man. Like, you're gonna get two of us for the last week, this week, and next week, so it's a whole different vibe. So we're doing crazy stuff like top fives. We're talking the U.S., which is kind of a depressing subject right now. We're going to talk Man United and why are they exactly like the Chicago Fire? And I added that bit of commentary. I am FCneoTokyo. This is Jaymes, and like I said, we're going to do some other fun things. So Jaymes put together a list that I'm going to stand behind, and I've yet to see it. And I stand behind it. Jaymes, what did you do?
Toke hasn't even seen the list, but here is the list. Guys, what are, in your opinion, the top 5 rules of soccer? Your favorite 5 rules, the best 5 rules. What are your favorite 5 rules for soccer? Guess something we don't even think about or talk about often, but I did a little list. I did a little compiling. And here is Enemies of the Fire's top 5 rules in soccer. By the way, after this, we'll have the inverse, and we'll talk about the top 5 worst rules in soccer. And we want to hear from you. Comment below. Let us know in the comments. Let them ring. Here we go. We're going to start with the top 5.
There's probably a lot more on that worst list than best.
I
imagine.
To
be honest, soccer is a very simple game. Not a ton of rules. Just don't touch the balls.
Have you seen the rule book? Have you ever taken the test to become a referee?
I have not. Is it sizable?
It's sizable. it takes you go to a 2-day class, and you can get certified pretty easily nowadays. However,
and then you have drunk parents throw beer bottles at you.
Well, yeah, but you go farther up. You can go farther up the roll, the rigmarole. Though the more often you get checked up on and take these tests, and you can go and test into higher licenses, essentially to referee. But here we are. We're talking. I'm sorry.
Well, when you get high enough as a referee, do you just take the last name Uncle, as if you just then get put into a royal family?
If you're lucky.
Anyway, sorry, I derailed everything.
If you're lucky. So guys, we're going to talk about, here they are, the top 5 rules in soccer. We're going to
you love these.
That are approved by Enemies of the Fire. Number 5, duration of match rules. I love the duration of match rules as currently situated right now. You've been talking about them. You've been saying you've been loving how these matches have been going, and all of a sudden it's the 98th minute. There's 8 minutes of stoppage time. There's 10 minutes of stoppage time. There's 4 minutes of stoppage time. Well, stoppage time is a rule in soccer. I love stoppage time. I love the way soccer makes it work. I think soccer makes sense. The first time you watch soccer, you're like, oh, they're not ending right on time. This doesn't make sense. When you play it, it makes all the sense. When you ref it, it makes all the sense, because as a ref, you got your watch out. You're basically doing a little silent tally of all those little seconds of the game that don't have play. The ball's out of bounds. The coaches are yapping, what have you. You add those up, and you're like, yeah, it's about 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, or 8 minutes, depending upon the delay in play. I love the duration of match rules currently situated. How do you feel about them?
I can't believe we are in total agreement about this. I love it. I've been the one championing the fact that we're having these longer, you know what I mean? I just remember, I think the worst experience as a fan in soccer of time wasting that I saw was the Ghana USA round of 16 game in the 2010 World Cup. Yeah, that was probably the worst case I've ever seen. And they were 2 minutes. They just wasted the 2 minute. It just was garbage. So I do love seeing all of that time wasted get put right back on the end. And you know what? It's not just wasted time, it's injuries. Like a guy would be down for 3.5 minutes, and that's fine in my opinion. But the issue is then they'd be like 2 minutes of added time. It's like, dude, the one injury alone. So yes, we are in 100% agreement on
There's
this
one word.
That's even a word.
There's one word about stoppage time that to me describes it and why it exists. Tension. Tension describes that, because there are times in the game where that is its most tense moment, is the end of the game, where you're going for the tie, you're going for the win, you're trying to make the other team lose, and some miracle happens. Something happens, whether it's a team pulls off a miracle tie, a miracle win, a miracle loss, happens in that tense time of tension in stoppage time. That's what I love about it, and I really do love that. That's the number 5 rule. Might have been the number 1. We're going to go on, though. Number 4. Top 5 soccer rule. Number 4 is the substitution rules. The substitution rules, as currently stipulated, are the best version that they've ever been.
Okay, so just to clarify, you're talking 5, like the sub rule in general we all love, but you're talking 5 over 3.
5 over 3 is the best rule. I want more. It's not good enough. I want hockey style. But I've talked to MLS coaches, MLS championship coaches, winning coaches in the past, where they're like, "You're mad, James." No, I don't need more subs. They don't need more decisions. They want less decisions. But I, as a fan of goals, of the league, of play, of the game, I want change. I see change as a good thing. I see change as offering more minutes to players who wouldn't otherwise get it, and that's what you get with this new 5 sub rule. There's more guys getting playing time than ever in the history of soccer, of professional league soccer.
I do agree with that. Like I struggle. The sub rule in general, like I said, we all love it. It's brilliant. We need people to come into the game. But for me, the 5 subs, the only thing about 5 subs I don't like, because I do like the 5 subs because I like seeing more players. And it keeps the games better at the later stages of the game.
Players are fresher.
But the only thing about 5 subs I don't like is that it really takes away a lot of upset opportunity, because with, if your bench is extremely deep, if 2 more guys, you're talking that's I can math like 40% of the team you can switch over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so if you're Man City playing Aston Villa, number 5 is a whole hell of a lot better than Aston Villa's number 5.
Sounds
right?
like an Aston Villa problem.
But I mean, I think 5 is a good number anymore, and it would just be pointless. It wouldn't feel right. The game would get worse because you'd have these albatrosses on the team of the 3 guys stuck on, or like 2 guys still on the field,
Mm-hmm.
But
I actually see the opposite.
I don't know,
I
man.
see little teams could beat the big teams with more subs. I think people aren't thinking big enough. I think people think, oh, more subs, the bigger teams will win. More statistically, if we're talking 6 out of 10 games, yeah, the bigger team will probably win. But having more subs does not disadvantage the little guy, and I think that's a flawed way of thinking, because when you are the player, you're thinking you're fresh. There's a guy out there who's not fresh, and you could be fresh and stopping the pain, stopping whatever the problem is that they could be getting picked on in a certain area. That to me is why I want more subs than less, because I think a lot of other people in their minds want to put all these other players down and say, oh, they're not good enough, it's going to limit them. No, let them get out there and prove themselves. That's what we have with this current situation right now. More players are getting the chance to go out there and to prove themselves, and showing that in the last few minutes, they've got more in their boots than Leo Messi after 60. Sorry, even the best player in the world gets tired. And somebody on the bench could produce
100% true.
And someone on the bench could outproduce them just because of the fresher legs. I don't know. That's where I really like that substitution.
I think 5. You have
a good point about 5 maybe being kind of the limit, but I say expand to more. I do like your point.
For me, and that takes a lot of soul searching for me, because I never want to be the get off my lawn guy. I'm I want to stay up on the music. I don't want to be just like a traditionalist for the sake of it. but 5 does seem to make the most amount of sense, or at least the max amount of sense, right? Like, I think more than that, you
say you're
I don't know.
potentially playing with fire.
Well, I mean, you're playing two different, like, you could make a full, if you're talking 8 subs, let's go to the max, like 8 subs, you could start the second half with an entirely different squad.
And you should. In my opinion, you should. In my opinion, you should. Your first team, the 8 of your guys, they should be playing 100% for the first 60. And then guess what? The last 30, I got a sub for you. You're going to see better soccer because guys can go the full 100 in that first 60 instead of having to save that full 100 and they go like, oh, I have to pick my spots. So you have less picking your spots. You have a better sport. That's why football has all these subs too. And they don't have a limited sub.
I said I backed this.
53, but I do like that. We'll move into the third. Number 3, top 5 rules in soccer. And this is going to be a contentious one over in Europe or maybe specifically in Britain because, well, they're a bunch of gits and they're bottling it when it comes to VAR technology. But goal line technology and VAR, to me, that is one of the greatest integrations of technology and rules in the modern game. Thank you for making it happen, and thank you to the leagues that get it right, like MLS, and don't fuck around and want it to be successful. Unlike the EPL, who has who they want it to fail. Everybody in EPL wants it to fail. They do
want it to fail. I mean, here's the thing: VAR misses way less than we did before, right?
And they want to pretend like it doesn't. They want to gaslight themselves into thinking that it somehow denigrates or ruins the game, not getting the right result. They're fucking insane. But then again, we've all been, what's the word? Not brainwashed, but we've been conditioned by NFL and football to want to get, and baseball, to want to get the right call. We as Americans want the right call. We don't want to live and exist in a lie. We're Chicago Bears fans. There was a horrible incident in which Megatron caught a touchdown against the Chicago Bears with the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions effectively won the game. Every single the refs called off the catch, said it wasn't a catch, wasn't a legal catch. It ended up becoming like a big thing. They fixed catches later, years down the line, due to that incident. But almost every Chicago fan with class did not like that call, and they all thought Megatron scored that touchdown. And that, long story short, we're conditioned to want to get it right here in America. And I wonder if that's not necessarily the case in Europe, in England, where they're like, they don't want to necessarily get it right. They want to get what the result feels good for them. And that means the big club winning.
Don't forget, it's called the beautiful game, brother.
And the beautiful game means the bigger team wins all the time in Europe.
It's poetry in motion, my man. No, in all seriousness, I have been very big fan of VAR. I do feel like there is always so again, I really feel like the not celebrating thing is a cop-out because when it's legit. And if it's close, there's all this tension, and guess what? Everybody still explodes. It's just a different moment, right?
They get crazy. So we're like, yeah.
I am all for VAR. I think it can be done better. I think it should be done better. I know in
the places where it's not being done good enough, yes.
I think that the whole hesitation has always been that soccer is a flowing game. You talk about baseball and American football,
yes,
and it's like these little singular tiles.
You're right, because the stop-start nature of the NFL, of MLB,
exactly right. And so, but
guess what, Toke? Soccer stops and starts all the fucking time. All the fucking time. And these people want to gaslight themselves into not realizing that a free kick is a stoppage. And then a throw-in is a stoppage. And a corner kick is a stoppage. And a goal kick is a stoppage. And all these freaking things are stoppages. Like, get with the program, all these little bitches and wah crybabies.
I have approved this message.
Can't wait to read the comments. By the way, we love you all.
What is number 2?
Number 2 is off. Oh, no, I'm doing a different one. Number 2 is foul and the foul and current misconduct rules, where you get red card, yellow card. That's a good thing. It wasn't always 100%.
that way. 100%. I don't want a sin bin. I really kind of hate that idea. I really like yellow and red card. What I do, and this wraps back to the last thing.
Mhm.
The one thing VAR has done is taken away that bullshit of where the guys are too scared to give those cards early
Mhm.
or in the game or in very important moments. You know what I mean? Then so I am all for the card system. I don't want a sin bin like hockey. I don't want Nigel DeYoung breaking legs and then just sitting down and having a fucking orange slice and then going back in the game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like I don't want a sin bin. I love the cards.
I want to put a pin
Yellow
in your
and red
sin
card.
bin idea for when we talk about the top 5 worst rules, because that might be an idea that we have to at least, throw out there for one of them. But sin bin not in soccer, but cards. And in indoor soccer, we used to have a kind of a duality of both, where you got a blue card and you have to go sit off for like a minute or two, and the other team would get
you must
a
have
man
played
advantage.
at a much higher. You must have played at a much higher level than I, because we never had no sin bins.
Chicago Magic.
It was just.
Yeah, Ned Grabavoy. And
On your team?
No.
Oh, I was about to say
he was
you
older than me.
fucking-
He was older than me.
I legit thought you were about to tell me you played soccer with Ned Grabavoy.
No, I did play with a couple MLSers. But
Oh.
the one of them was a goalie. He was just like, he did not get far. And Ned Grabavoy was the one who got the farthest of that particular group.
Okay.
And we had some freaking studs. Like, man, I feel like US Soccer missed some talent over in our area for sure.
I mean, it's a big country.
But man, we're in Chicago, we're out in the burbs, so I mean that is a hotbed of talent. But the foul misconduct rules, I think those are great things in the current game. The way that a referee is empowered to make these calls, send you out of the game. It's a problem when they change the game and they take the game into their own hands, but when the game comes to them and they're just having to dole out punishment because of what happened, their hands are tied. It's when a ref steps above that, and we all know when it happens. When the ref takes the game into his own hands, that's a little bit more weird. It doesn't seem to work. But when a ref is honest with his calls,
now we have VAR.
Yeah, and that's what they got VAR for. I like that.
We got VAR to fix that.
It's true. And the number 1 top 5 rule in soccer, the number 1, it's the reason things are as exciting as they are. The reason for the excitement of the game is because of this one single rule. And some people are going to hate it. Strikers especially. Offside. The rule is offside. The offside rule is the number 1 rule in soccer. Without the offside rule, you would not have the breakaways. You wouldn't.
The sport wouldn't exist the way it does anymore.
Breakaways do not exist without offside rule. So take that out. So offside rule is one of the single biggest game changers of the game that creates excitement.
You know what I feel like if there wasn't offsides, what you would see a F ton more of? Keepers accidentally punching strikers in the head on balls bouncing into the box, like high bounces into the box.
Well, you'd have to.
I really feel like you'd see a lot of concussions
because think about
not
it,
having offside.
the players in those instances, I guarantee you, the taxes would change. You probably have tall, bigger LeBron James types of strikers, and the goalies would have to be somewhat similar to boot. And you're right,
and they just stand there.
They just have to try and get in as many punches as they could, accidental.
I mean,
as they
really,
could.
you like, how many times would there be like a 50-50 ball and the guy's got to punch it and he'd end up smacking somebody and they get a concussion?
That would happen a lot because of no offside. The guy would be able to cherry pick all day and they could just launch balls. In fact, you'd have to have a dedicated defender on him.
We would never have seen Messi. He wouldn't have played the sport because the ball would have just sailed over in both directions.
A striker like Messi wouldn't really exist. They'd have to be more of a midfielder in that type of game because of the way the long balls and the play would work. It's absolutely single-handedly changed the game for the better. Offside rule is
more love.
The offside rule is huge. And that is the top 5 rules in soccer. Let us know if you guys agree or disagree in the comments below. What do you think?
This is approved by myself and DPG, who is not here this evening.
All right. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the top 5 worst rules in soccer. After that,
I fear I know a spoiler.
after that, we're going to talk a little Manchester United, Ten Hag, MLS / Caitlin Clark, all of it. Swirl it all in a little bowl and mix it up and serve it on top of nachos. We'll be talking about that here at Enemies of the Fire right when we come back after those messages from our sponsors. See you on the flip side.
Welcome back, fellow enemies of the fire. We are here yet again with the top 5 worst rules in soccer. We actually, if you're hearing this, you most likely heard the top 5 best rules in soccer.
And if you haven't, go check it out. It was great. We have a lot of fun.
James has compiled
with
this
these.
list for us, which thank you, James, for compiling the list. And
I've been having a lot of fun with these top 5s, and I think we as a podcast have been having a lot of fun discussing these top 5s and these tier lists. So expect a few more of them from time to time.
Was definitely fun, for sure.
Go check that one out with the Chicago Fire top 10 manager tier list. Did that a couple weeks ago on here on Enemies of the Fire.
Yeah, and trust me, it was a list. It did exist. And so, just to let you know, I've yet to see this list, but myself and DPG, who is not here to speak for himself, both have put our stamp of approval on this list.
Talk about teammates having your back. Caitlin Clark's teammates could take a memo here. The top could take a memo, absolutely, about teammates. The top 5 worst rules in soccer. We're going to start with number 5. Number 5, and it might be number 1 for some. I mean, I said this about the last time with the top 5. That's the thing with these rules. They are interchangeable. But for us, number 5, interpretation of the advantage rule. What is going on there half the time? It's like the referee is making it up in his head. He's like, he heard the word advantage and he's like, oh, that must be what it is. No, there's an actual rule to the advantage rule, and it sometimes seems like the referee is not taking into the terms of applying the law. They're interpreting their fictitious imaginary version of advantage rule half the time.
I have yet to really encounter a time where I've been that upset about advantage given or not.
You forget about it. I think you forget about, because there's times where the referee calls a foul back and you're like, what was that?
You know,
it happens so fast and they're already taking the free kick and the game's moved on, but it happens more often than we realize.
I think they should give plays a little bit longer to play out to see how well the advantage goes, because sometimes it looks clear and obvious and somebody makes a play instantly. It's like, well, they didn't get anything, or vice versa. Like they totally stop a goal scoring opportunity. Now, this is one of those that's a strictly, interpretation. This is a Supreme Court style fucking ruling. Like
literally in the language of the rule.
I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it, right?
Yeah.
So this is where I go back to the point of why I like VAR so much is you got one guy who's trying to watch 22 others. I know you got 2 linesmen and a 4th official, but I mean, this one guy in the center is doing a lot of heavy lifting. So you're asking him to spot and see and call the foul while also seeing the runs the offensive players are making.
And have the chance to potentially still score and has to all calculate that into some sort of voodoo math.
Yeah, exactly. I say personally, a normalized calling a play back that was an advantage that doesn't play out. I normalize that.
Some people would say get rid of advantage entirely and just call the foul immediately.
Oh no! They call it the beautiful game for a reason, James. It's poetry in motion. Those people hate fun.
And to me, it goes in. That's where hockey and soccer do align. In hockey, they don't call the penalty right away. In fact, they raise their arm. They raise their arm until the offending team touches the ball, and then they'll blow. But the offensive team gets an offensive advantage the entire time the penalty is called, and they get an extra man because they get to pull the goalkeeper, because as soon as the other team touches the puck anyway, the play is frozen. How about something like that? How about something like that where...
Well, no, because then you're still doubly punished because you give advantage, and then if you know, like, what happens...
But as soon as you give the ball, if the ball's given away, then you could call it.
Yeah, but then...
I
feel like you're getting doubly punished, and you wouldn't need the advantage rule. Right? I think it's only an advantage in hockey... Well, actually, yeah, you kind of get doubly punished. Well, it's only, you know what? It's an advantage in hockey because you have sin bins.
It's a double punishment in hockey there as the same. You're just you're starting to pay the price of the penalty ahead of time.
You know what? I'm not a fan of that.
It's interesting. It's an interesting little thought process with what's going on in hockey and between soccer. Rule number 4, we'll move on. Persistent fouling, and this is what I was talking about for saving your little sin bin comment. Persistent fouling without adequate punishment. That is one of the worst 5 rules in soccer, because how do you fix this? The players that are persistent foulers, and you can't just give them 2 yellows, because a second yellow quickly morphs into a red, and that seems like too much punishment. Where is the happy medium for these persistent foulers?
Because persistent, like you to keep it a game and not a wrestling match, you have to make a true punishment for fouling persistently. And the thing is, there's a way to do it. There's a way to commit a lot of fouls where you're just being aggressive, and they're not nasty tackles. They're all over the field, not one spot. You're not actively stopping goal scoring movements.
But you do enough of those and you get a yellow card just for making defensive plays? That seems a little...
Well, but no, that's not true, because if you're really clattering in there,
and
then
you are in our instance, you are clattering in there. I mean, you might not be forceful, but it's adding up, and everybody's adding it up.
See, I don't think there's a magic number either.
Right.
I don't think it's like, 4 fouls.
It's a feeling. It's a feeling thing, but that's kind of a problem. Like, because there's no consistency to the punishment, and then the referees don't have a consistency from game to game, so it becomes harder for both the players and the referees to figure this out.
I would have to talk to more current players to see how they feel about this, but personally, I feel that allows you to have different styles.
Yeah,
you know, that allows a guy who can use his feet know that, like, they can hack a shack for a minute. But after a while, they're going to have to stand up. They're going to have to stand up to me, you know? So, like, or you can be an aggressive player and know, like, okay, you know, I've committed some fouls, and then boom, okay, I got that yellow. Now I know where I need to be, where I need to sit.
But then you got to play in the next 45 minutes, like in this weird zone where you got to play more conservative, but yet still just as aggressive. It puts you in an odd place as a player, which is great for the play. It's entertaining.
Well, but in basketball, you get, what, 5 or 6 fouls? I can't remember.
6 fouls in the pros.
Okay, so you get 6 fouls. So once you get 3 fouls in the second quarter, guess what? You don't play till the next half.
You got to sit.
So it's the same difference, man. Like, you know, or if you're Michael Jordan and you're playing on 3 fouls, you have to be
you just said it. You just brought in my point. More subs, hockey style subs, basketball style subs. Lineups. That way, your guy gets a card. You could take him out. You could sit him for 20 minutes, and you could let him get, you know, that anger out of him, and then put him back in after he's calmed down a little bit.
That's the American sports fan in you, with all these like second chances and shit. Soccer's not about second chances. Soccer's about
Soccer's a second chance sport. Second chances. It's all about second, third, fourth, fifth chance. But that's every sport. Every sport's about the second, third, fourth, fifth chances. Those are the champions who put them away. It's true.
All right. What's the next one?
The number 3 worst rule in soccer: time wasting and stoppage time.
In what way?
Time wasting and stoppage time. In the way that it can just become too much. All of a sudden, you have a 12-minute game of a tie that you just want over. This game is not going. You don't care who wins. This game was a draw. Now I'm playing devil's advocate a little hit here. If you guys watched the first one. You guys watched the top 5 rules.
I am all about.
By the way,
I
these
said
were
this
pulled.
last time.
I pulled the internet, and these were the answers I got.
Oh, no way.
That's how I got. That's how I came to these. So this is player consensus across the internet in a international setting.
I personally believe. The Iraq. No. I'm sorry. No, personally, I love 8-10 minutes because that's how much effing time was lost. Play the full game, and like, yes, you don't have to play every second of 90 minutes, or else you'd stop the clock, right? I'm with that. But like, honestly, dude, if you have big injuries and a lot of time wasting and 5 goals in the game, you gotta give back that 6-7 minutes.
Well, that's the other thing. This time wasting seems so stupid now. Like, why are you wasting time? You're actually just killing your team now.
Exactly. And that's exactly why, because time wasting was the worst thing in football. Soccer, football.
And so maybe the new current rules have done a little bit to maybe mitigate this a little bit better.
Yeah, so maybe your list is flawed. I seem to love all of this.
Yeah, that's what's so fun about this. I mean, this is what I was given. The number 2 worst rule in soccer is the offside rule, especially with VAR. That's what they were saying. They're saying the offside rule is the worst by, and I said that must be strikers, because strikers just they hate being called for offside, and in their world they think if there was no offside, they would just have chances all day. It would be a totally different game, as we discussed in that first segment.
Yeah, it would be a whole different game.
So I do disagree with this worst rule, but I have to play devil's advocate and try and figure out what is bad with it. Well, it stopped scoring.
I love the existence of the offside rule.
Right.
The way I have been preaching this for a while. The way I wish it was called is the by the feet. So as long who's ever, like, your feet have to be behind the furthest back foot.
Both feet or one foot?
No, just one. You have to be.
So college football rules.
Yeah, so the defender has to have one toe in front of you at least. And who cares about the arms? You could have your whole half body in front of him, but your stride is further back, and you're onside. I think it should be only look at the feet. The body, the arms, who cares about any of that? Just your feet. That's how I would fix offside.
How would you guys fix
100%.
offside in the comments? Because according to this, offside with VAR is one of the current rules. They must be talking to people in England. I'm sitting with you. We don't necessarily agree with this, but this is what was presented to me, and that was the winning answer for number 2. The number one most hated rule in soccer is the handball rule.
What?
Is that not wild? The handball rule.
Well, wait. What do they mean? Like handball in the box?
I think it's when that goes against them. People.
Oh, I guess. Okay, I guess the natural position.
The interpretation of it. When people think in interpretations that play rather than a actual direct rule, it is a direct rule, but people think that
right. We don't people carrying the ball, but they're upset about how it's called.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's what it comes down to. People get upset about how it's called and how it influences the games.
I've always liked the whole. I feel like they don't do it anymore. I feel like it got patched out of the game. But
there have not been so many penalty kicks for handballs as there were 10, 15, 20 years ago. It feels like there's less.
Well, there used to be a rule where, like, if you had, like, if it was a split-second thing and the guy kicked the ball and your hand was, like, this far from his foot and it hit your hand, like, that wouldn't count because it was just such bang, proximity.
That's a part of the soccer rule, yeah, that because of, it has to do with intention.
I thought they got rid of that. I thought it was just completely if they're not in a natural position. I think we need to redefine exactly what a natural position is on a handball, because you cannot jump with your arms directly to your side, right? Like, that's the problem. You're jumping and they're like this, then they can't be all the way up here like I'm doing, but, like, you shouldn't, I don't know.
So what
You
you're
can't
talking
jump.
about, what you were talking about, that they did change the handball rule, and this is the adjustment that they made. You can't deliberately touch the ball with your hand, of course, and you can't move your hand or your arm towards the ball. So, right? You're moving your hand like
Right.
this. The other thing that was the key part of the rule that they've added was to make your body unnaturally bigger by positioning your hand or your arm in a way that wasn't a result of the body movement. So those moments where you're putting up your body to defend yourself, you're making yourself unnaturally bigger by positioning your hand or your arm in a certain way, and that is a handball.
Well, I know it's kind of a nightmare in American football where you're talking about holding and you have to hold, like, you can hold the guy, but it's got to be in between his shoulders, right?
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's a
like,
nightmare for us guys with glasses because we got to protect our face from the ball.
but like it's all about like it's like legal, not legal, right? Just these minor tweaks of where your hand is.
Right.
So
Yes.
I almost feel like if your hands are within your body's silhouette.
Well, that's why you see guys put their arms behind them a lot too when they go to tackle,
exactly.
to try and remove that penalty.
But I feel like if you went like this and it hit your hands, I really feel like that shouldn't be a handball unless you like volleyball hit it, right? But if they're within your silhouette, I don't see a reason why.
So,
I don't know, man. I really feel like there's I guess this illuminates the fact that something has to be figured out, because my biggest issue, because yes, I like that if you're making yourself bigger, that's a problem. I just feel like when you jump, it's humanly impossible to get any bit of a jump without your arms rising away from your side.
and it's human to protect your face from
That too.
from a blistering paste object flying at it.
Well, again, to my idea of if you like legalize within your silhouette, you could cover your face.
That's interesting. Yeah. That makes sense to me, the idea of the silhouette.
But that's just me throwing out ideas, because that would be hard to
But therein lies
police.
what they're talking about with, even in your silhouette, you could make yourself unnaturally bigger by unnatural placements.
If your elbows
right?
are out, that's a handball, It's,
and you're naturally already in that position, right?
And I do like how they've kind of gotten more chill about more like the sleeve area.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like hitting up here, you can kind of, trap it as opposed to like, oh, it bounced up and hit my shoulder. Now it's a handball.
I still think that this, when you put your arm into it, I think that's a handball now, right?
That's still considered a hit. Well,
I mean,
I don't know.
Well,
I think guys get away with it because it's close enough to the chest.
According to the rule, when you do this and you move your arm towards the ball, that is a handball. Moves their hand or arm towards the ball. So that is actually a handball. They have to chest it.
Or I feel like they've been more chill about that, though.
It depends. They do seem to be a little bit more chill in that. It feels like they're calling less penalty kicks for handballs.
They are. I mean, yeah. We got spoiled with that whole ball to hand versus handball thing back in the day, and they've kind of like threw that away. But anyway, what was this number one?
That was number one.
Wow. That's kind of wild. And, it makes sense because it's been the most deep conversation we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought that was wild, too. It really was. And that was a little fun.
How would you fix it? I don't know. I don't know.
How do you fix it? Well, they got to change the interpretation of the language of the rule. And you might have had something with what you're talking about as far as the within your picture, within your frame, within your silhouette. There's an idea there, I think.
I hope so. Anyway.
And if you guys have anything, let us know in the comments. We're happy to read them. And did you agree or disagree with the top 5 worst rules in soccer? Let us know. We'd love to read your comments. When we come back here on Enemies of Fire, we're going to be doing a little stew of everything else. And you better believe that stew is spicy. It's 5-alarm chili. It's not stew. I lied to you. It's 5-alarm chili. We'll be right back here on Enemies of the Fire.
Welcome back, fellow enemies of the fire. FCneoTokyo and Jaymes, we're here. And this man, I have to be honest, since the moment I talked to him today, I have heard nothing except for exasperation about Manchester United. Sir, they fired Ten Hag, right? He had a terrible season and it's over now, so they fired him, right?
Cue the Home Alone gif. Like, no, they did not. And every pundit in England.
Hold on. We as a podcast are not going to support GIF. It's a GIF, bro. I've supported those two lists. I'm not supporting this.
But there's my Home Alone impression. But yes, Ten Hag has been retained by Manchester United, and the reason given is probably because of, they got bought by a new owner and they don't want to change too many things, and the people who are currently making the decisions, they don't really want to be responsible for making decisions, so they decided this, to make it as soft as possible. Because bringing in a guy like Pochettino, no, they didn't want to do that. Bringing in a guy like Thomas Tuchel, nah, they didn't want to do that. Bringing in a guy like Jose Mourinho, it's already too late. Just like the U.S. men's national team with Jesse Marsch, it's a little too late. And Jose Mourinho would have came back. Would have, he told me. But I text Jose. Me and Jose text once a year.
You're on the hotline with the
I'm on the hotline with Jose. Every once in a while, he lets me know how things are going. It's fun. But
oh man,
and he would have came back too. But Manchester United does not want to coach like Jose Mourinho. They do not want to coach like Thomas Tuchel. They don't even want to coach like Mauricio Pochettino, who to me, he's a squeaky clean guy who's pretty much going to usually go with what your guy wants, unless you're a team like Chelsea.
I'm all for Pochettino.
He might be the next England national team coach. Watch out for that. Him or Pep Guardiola, but probably Pochettino. He fits more in line with what the FA wants. As far as a yes man. So that goes with Manchester United. Manchester United want a yes man. They already have their yes man. Ten Hag is a yes man. All they've done is hire a yes man. Solskjaer, yes man. Van Gaal, yes man. Jose Mourinho, the only no man that they hired, and they couldn't stand him because he became bigger than the club. And guess what? Every single decision and thing that he said was right. Manchester United
did I just hear you skip right over Chris Armis's reign as Manchester United manager?
Jose Mourinho was the best thing that Manchester United ever had. Chris Armis is doing okay over in Real Salt Lake, isn't he? Or it's Colorado. Okay. It's Colorado.
So before we both wax poetic about Jose.
No. I want to talk more about Manchester United and their failures. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I just heard that he wasn't fired yet. They actually retained him and re-signed him for another year.
Who did?
Ten Hag.
Oh, Ten Hag.
Manchester United.
Ten Hag is who they re-signed. Yes.
They re-signed him.
They re-signed Ten Hag for one more season.
Okay. So oh my God. Okay. So please tell me, how well are the Manchester United fans taking it? Better or worse than the Chicago Fire Klopas news?
Some of these fans are loving it. Some of these fans are fucking morons. These fans are fucking morons. They all listen to the fucking United stand, and he's a fucking moron. I listened to him too because I thought he was pretty good for a while, and then I realized, this guy's a bit of a moron. And then the longer I listen to him, I'm like, this guy's a complete moron. Oh, he's full of bullocks. Okay. I do like the United stand. I do like Mark Goldbridge, but for the most part, I think he's lost the plot the last 10 years or the last 8 years or 6 years or so, because every single Manchester United coach, besides Jose, he's loved to soak their cork. Even though they don't deserve the cork soaking. Only Jose. Oh my God.
So you lived through this with Frank Klopas and the Fire.
Oh, I lived through this with Manchester United and the Fire at the same time, and it feels like you're in some sort of weird deja vu. The U.S. team. It feels like the same people who make the decisions for Manchester United make the decisions for the Chicago Fire, and they're both decisions versed in mediocrity and in the status quo, and not changing into first-rate, world-class organizations, despite giving lip service to that said desire. Both Manchester United and Chicago Fire are guilty of that.
So the parallels are shocking.
Absolutely.
To be perfectly honest,
To the point where Manchester United goes and hires a former Chicago Fire player and thinks it's going to help. Yeah, right.
So
they had a better chance of going and hiring that actor who played Stewart in freaking the Apple TV show. You know, you didn't watch what I'm watching?
I have no idea.
What's this? Ian, I don't know. The assistant coach from Ted Lasso. The assistant coach he turns into the bad guy later on in the season, but then he comes good again. But he's like this savant. They would have a better chance hiring that actor than Chris Armas. I'm sorry. Chris Armas is just not good enough for Manchester United. He's nowhere near.
God, no,
and that indicates the level of ambition. Do you think Barcelona is hiring Chris Armas? Do you think Manchester United, Real Madrid is hiring Chris Armas? This is how far Manchester United has fallen. It's fallen to Chicago Fire levels. That it's actually hiring a guy that should be considered for a coach for Chicago Fire for their own team in the EPL, and they're a team with Champions League aspirations. It makes no sense. It's absolutely bonkers. The decisions that are going on over at Manchester United, and they're worse because they got this new owner, and they're afraid to make decisions. They're afraid to make the wrong decision, but being afraid to make the wrong decision, they're making even more wrong decisions.
That's kind of the game of soccer when you don't want to concede and that's all you want to do. You give up a goal. So question for you. You said something outlandish to me earlier this evening, and I want to know if you stand by it. So before you answer this, where did Manchester United finish this season?
8th.
Okay. That was worse than I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and where are they going to finish next year with Ten Hag? 10th?
Well, question to you. You said Manchester United is done. They will never be an elite club again. Do you truly, truly believe this? As a fan, do you truly believe the elite years? Like, I kind of thought that about Liverpool, and then they kind of came back. I mean, kind of.
Well, there's no player here. There's no coach here that is going to spawn this turnaround. When you look at Liverpool, they still got Klopp. They still got Mo Salah. They still have a culture there. The culture at Manchester United that was brought in by Fergie is dead. It's gone. That culture is legitimately dead.
Can I give you an unpopular take?
Yes.
They should have let Moyes have like 2 or 3 years.
Yes, they should have.
They shouldn't have just axed him after 6 months. They should have given him 2 or 3 years.
They really should have.
I firmly believe that.
A lot of people are saying that, and a lot of people are realizing that they screwed Moyes way too early. He might not have been good enough, but it might have pulled the plug on him too early.
But you needed to give him a chance to, like, you know what I mean?
No, that the club was not good. The club was already.
You saw cracks, huh?
The cracks were already forming there. The cracks were.
So if they're not an elite club, who are the elite English clubs now?
City.
I mean, we know
City. Liverpool. It's really just City is the elite.
I mean, is this now Tottenham's time to strike?
Tottenham's up there. They're better than Manchester United, but better long term, I don't think so. Their culture is not set up to beat Manchester United's. They're a culture of losers. Tottenham's a culture of losers. Manchester United's a culture of winners being ran by losers, and that's the difference. Tottenham is a club of losers ran by losers, while Manchester United is a club of winners ran by losers. That is truly the difference. Manchester City used to be a club of losers ran by losers. Now they are a club of winners ran by winners.
It's amazing to look at what Manchester City is now and be like, in their history, Claudio Reyna was their captain.
Claudio, yeah, oh yeah. They tried to win a game with Claudio Bravo. I think the Chicago Fire were going to try that too. They're at least barking up that tree for a minute.
So you are what's next for you as your Manchester United fandom?
There's nothing's going to change with Manchester United until they install a new coach. And with that new coach is going to bring the new hopes and dreams of Manchester United fans. And we will know upon signing if that coach has the ambition of fans. I'll know. I'm sure.
Does Tentog get the whole season, or if things are a little bit chaotic
his
early
ass
on?
10 weeks ago. They shouldn't. He shouldn't still be here. The pundits were all talking. They're like, yeah, that's great that he won a cup, but did you see how he played against insert any lower league EPL team, English Premiership team, a lower half?
No, they just lost to the lower half.
They were getting killed. They were getting killed by any team that matters. And it's sure they won
did Fulham beat them?
Fulham might have beaten them. Let's see. 4-0 against Crystal Palace. They got whooped 4-0 by Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, Michael Olise, Jean-Philippe Mateta. Jean-Philippe Mateta had a hell of a fucking season. Tyreek Mitchell. This gets me into another problem. The English Premiership strikers fucking suck. The majority of the English Premiership strikers
as well.
They suck. It's mind-blowing. All the Premiership strikers 5-10 years ago, great, awesome. Manchester strikers nowadays, they suck. Guess how many strikers are in the top 10 of the EPL for scoring goals?
At least 3, because you've set it up that there's not many.
Okay, yeah, you've got at least 3. I'll give you 3 of them. Erling Haaland, there's 1.
Okay. Who else is up there?
Alexander Isak. That's a second striker.
I forgot about Isak over there at Newcastle.
He's in 3rd in scoring, but guess who's in 2nd in scoring? Cole Palmer. Guess what position Cole Palmer plays? Not striker. Phil Foden. Guess what position he plays? Not striker. He's 4th in scoring.
Holy shit! Phil Foden had that many goals this year?
He had 19 goals.
Ooh.
19. So Erling Haaland had 27.
Ugly man, but great goal scorer.
27 for Erling Haaland, 19 for Phil Foden, who played attacking mid. So of the first 4, let's go. So of the first 4 that I've counted, 2 of them are strikers, 2 of them are not. Let's keep going down the list. Dominic Solanke, he's a striker. He's 5th. Ollie Watkins, he's a striker.
He's a striker.
He's 6th. How many strikers is that so far? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 strikers. Here it comes.
In the top 5.
Next, Mohamed Salah. What is he? Winger. What's next? Heung-min Son. What's he? A winger. What's next? Jared Bowen. What's he? A right winger for West Ham United. And finally, the 5th and last striker on the top 10 list is Jean-Philippe Mateta. 5 out of 10 strikers.
I don't see a problem with this. I think you're lamenting the changing pace of soccer, where we're back to, instead of 2 guys scoring a goal, we're back to a full-on front 4.
Well, I'm just surprised that strikers, you only have 5 of them in the top 10 of scoring. That to me is wild.
Well, okay. I mean, who's Manchester United's top striker?
Exactly.
Okay.
No one.
So we had Crystal Palace represented on the list.
Who's Liverpool striker? Darwin fucking Bumyes? Yeah, that's right. It's Mohamed Salah's how they score goals.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Jean-Philippe Mateta of Crystal Palace outscored Manchester United.
You're starting to sell me on this, because I'm trying to think of elite strikers in the Premiership.
Yeah.
But then again,
they're there.
Like in this,
Timo Werner. Timo Werner's really fast. But have you ever seen him try to score a goal?
Timo Werner.
It's like watching a pig crash into mud.
I've never seen a player more suited to be at a team than Timo Werner at Tottenham.
Perfect.
Just it should have happened years ago.
Mentality.
Yeah, it's just perfectly matched.
There's a reason Bayern Munich passed on him.
Yeah, he just screams Tottenham. Now, I mean, is this just a generational change? Because I mean,
or tactical change. I mean, Pep Guardiola's striker is leading. Pep Guardiola's striker is leading all of the league with 27 goals.
Well, yeah, but he's a freak.
Well, Pep Guardiola is also a great coach and knows how to coach. He's getting the most out of his striker. Where are the other coaches getting the most out of a striker? Oh, well, you know who we could include in that? Well, we can include Jean-Philippe Mateta of Crystal Palace. His coach is getting the most out of him.
Well, hold
Solanke,
on.
that's another one.
I'm trying to think. we've had a host of strikers get a little bit older. You have Karim Benzema, Firmino, and Ronaldo playing in Saudi. You got Messi and Luis Suarez playing in America. You have Di Maria is about to go to America. You have, well, I guess he's not a striker, but you have some big name strikers, Karim Benzema, who have just started shifting towards retirement. And so who's the next big thing? And I mean, I guess Mbappe is about to be in La Liga, and Nunez, as much as you've been hating on him all night,
He's a great player.
He's going to be something. Gabriel Jesus.
He's only 24. Nunez is going to be something. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I mean, who's the kid that's the Argentinian kid behind Holland? He's going to be something, and I can't think of his name right now. I mean,
the Argentinian who skies it all the time. He's got 2 names.
Yes, he has 2 names.
Man
Goddamn
City
right he does.
Roster. Hold on, I'll pull it up. I know who you're talking about. It's not Nunez. It's
no, it's the other kid. But that's the thing; they're kids.
Bernardo
right?
Silva. Bernardo Silva? Is that who you're talking about?
It's not Bernardo Silva. Hold on. You're killing me with this.
It's gotta be Silva.
Silva's Portuguese, isn't he?
Oh, you're maybe. Bernardo Silva. Portuguese. Portuguese.
Oh my God. Dude,
Julian Alvarez? Julian Alvarez.
Yes, thank you. Julian Alvarez. But anyway, the whole point I was making is, are we just in a generational gap for strikers? Because even Lewandowski's on the backside. He's on the back 9. You know what I mean? Like, is the big time striker, like, it's Holland and Mbappe right now.
Yeah, it is.
Dominic
Solanke, he's 27. I was like, holy cow, I remember him in like the old FIFAs, and he was an up and coming kid. And he's 27.
I mean, he's in his prime.
He's in his prime.
But that's the problem.
Same thing with Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins came out of nowhere, and he's helping to lead the league. But this guy's like 25, 26.
Well, and don't forget, Toomey's coming back.
Jared Bowen. Jared Bowen, to me, came out of nowhere. But this guy put up like 14 goals. He's put up a lot of goals before. He's 27. He's in his prime right now.
Yeah, he's in his prime.
Same thing with Jean-Philippe Mateta. He's 26. Like, these guys are 25, 26. And I'm like, where have these guys been hiding?
I mean, it's not as good of a crop as we just had. Just look at it. Like Giroud. Olivier Giroud was starting in Serie A, and now he's in, you know what I mean? Like, we have a huge batch of strikers really moving towards that backside of their career, and the 27-year-olds aren't really as fly, and you got kids, and you know what kids are? Inconsistent. I mean, me and DPG were just talking last week about Vinny Jr., and I know he's not a striker, but like the way they rode this kid like he was a bust at 19, and now he's 21 years old, and he's one of the best players in the world. You know what I mean? Like, so I just think we're at a weird time in soccer where the big crop of great strikers is on the way out, and that next crop didn't develop as well, and now we're gonna skip them and go straight to the kids. Like, I mean, are we gonna see Ian Watkins that much more after this year? Are we gonna see?
Ollie?
You know what I mean?
I don't think Ollie Watkins is going anywhere. I think he'll be around next year doing his thing.
I don't know, man. I'm skeptical.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, but Jamie Vardy was able to do it year after year too.
Also, I'd like to take this moment that he was mentioned on the podcast, and I will take every moment I can to hate on Hunsin Mun or whatever. Yeah, I can't even say his name right.
What don't you like about him?
No, he's the worst.
Is he social media? He's a social media schemer.
No, not at all. It's all in the it's all on the field. You can see it. I have different theories about that man. Anywho, so what do you think? Do you not like this shift of so many wing attackers? Because I fear we're gonna lose this with everybody wanting to have wing backs. because I really feel like wingbacks they take who's supposed to be a goal scoring threat and move them too far up back on the field to really be goal scoring threats.
Backs are the future. Whether it's a wing back or an outside back, backs are the future to offense, and that they've been figuring out that. We've been seeing that you need to have a guy like Alphonso Davies as your outside back, literally a physical specimen who's a wide receiver. If you want a wide receiver on your wing back or right back position, someone with pace, speed, and ability to get that ball in and get back.
Well, I like the 4-3-3, man. I really don't like wing backs at all. Like I said,
I don't like the 3 defender thing. I don't like the 3 defenders or the 5 defender thing. Give me a flat back 4. I prefer that.
Exactly. I mean, look at what you're saying. Look at when the US plays their best. Guess what? Dest and Robinson are having amazing games. You know what I mean?
Because they're going forward types of, and they're better backs. Like nations wish they had backs like the U.S. do. I was reading something about the last U.S. game, and they were saying that the defense was our worst unit.
Yeah, we really, really shit the bed, and it was a lot of it's another. I mean, we've taken a more of a 60,000 foot approach to soccer tonight, but I really feel like I've seen more I guess to lay the groundwork for the point I'm about to make is most of my life I've seen everybody talk about how the international game is behind, say, Champions League. The international teams aren't as good as the team's money can buy. But what I felt like every time I watched international play is that every single mistake led to a goal. So you had to be mistake free and then also not give up goals. Right? It just felt like, and now I feel like we in club soccer are seeing every single mistake is punished. There's no more whoopsies. Every single one. That's why you have the U.S. losing Colombia 5-1.
That has to do with Jesse Marsh's type of coaching and how that has come more into every single soccer league with these pressing teams, with these teams that are literally built. They used to not pounce on these types of mistakes. Now they're getting drilled into them to pounce on these early mistakes. And you're seeing goals within 8 seconds of a steal. Bam, a goal.
Yep.
And it's becoming more and more proliferate because that's what all these guys are training for. And when they cracked the code about 8, 6, 7 years ago with part of that's Jesse Marsh, part of that's some of these various things the Red Bull thing that was going on over there. Yeah. That helped crack the code for this. And everybody, Klopp cracked the code. They're playing part Klopp ball. They're playing part Red Bull ball. That type of pressing, gegenpressing style of play has really become, or an aspect of it has really become prevalent. And that used to not be so in soccer. And I sent you guys a few videos which were super interesting over the past week while when I wasn't able to be on. But it was talking about how watching soccer is different now than what it used to because of the way that these tactics of these teams are now changing. And what seems like bad soccer is actually not bad soccer half the time.
Well, sometimes. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's.
When teams are dropping back to defend, that's not bad soccer. They actually might just be, that's their tactical approach to maybe cut down the passing lanes or the goal scoring zones for a particular team's style of offense that they're playing. So it's become, watching soccer has become a little bit more interesting, and the game itself has opened up in these past 2 years.
I played soccer to the high school level, right? I screwed around and
I'm back.
So I played high school soccer, right? That's as far as I got. And so I still consider myself a very much a layman at the game. I like excitement. I like to see the guys kick the ball hard and run fast, right? Myself as a layman can pick out tactics so much more easily now as in this stage of soccer than say in 05 or 2010. Like, really they talk about like I'd have to listen to Total Soccer Show and be like, holy shit, they
That
saw
was what was
everything.
happening.
I had no idea.
They're
And now I'm
like
watching,
seeing, you're like, are they seeing ghosts? Like, I don't remember seeing that. And then you watch the game and they're like, oh, that is what's happening.
So now, like, I don't feel like I've gained any more knowledge. I just feel like it's easier and like more pronounced. It's more horrible example, but American football, every play starts as a certain setup.
Right.
But you see these setups now in soccer. You see the ball move around, and you see like as much as it sounds dumb again to compare another American sport, but like the triangle offense from the old Bulls days. That's kind of what's going on a lot here in modern soccer. Phil
was ahead of the game when he figured that out. He was trying to figure out how to get his best players the ball. He basically invented tiki-taka. That's all triangle offense is. It's tiki-taka for basketball.
You're right. I mean, it's wild. So I'm with you. I feel like as a layman, as a just enjoyer of sport, I could see the tactics in today's game more just unfold in front of me.
Just like we saw Barcelona's tiki-taka take over soccer for a while, way back when, and now we're still seeing evolutions of that tiki-taka. That still is people very much still want to bring that along. Now it's becoming a little bit of the tiki-taka along with the Klopp's Gegenpress and stuff. And and Guardiola, what Guardiola brings into this package of understanding where to be when your teammate is in a different position. Guardiola is the king of that.
Yeah,
that's all trickling down. What's cool about soccer and a lot of these sports is that some of the best stuff trickles down from the best to the rest, and they start figuring these things out. They might not be the best applicators of it, but they're experimenting and they're figuring these out, and that's what's leading to all these evolutions.
Yeah, I mean, you look at football, American football, and you have your people who figure this out and tried it in, like, you see trends, but there's only 30 teams. In soccer, there's hundreds of teams all playing differently in certain aspects of things, and then it's like music, right? Like, as dumb as that sounds, like, it's like, oh, I added like, keyboards to my, heavy metal, and now I have industrial rock.
That's why Champions League used to be the greatest competition. It's because you had all these different teams with all these different styles coming in to play each other and to figure out who was the best style that year. And now we're seeing a lot more homogeneity. Is that the word? Homogeneous. A lot of the teams that look the same, that play the same, that look the same. Homogeneous. Yes, that's what I was looking for. You're seeing a lot more of that and that's actually why, in my opinion, Champions League past 2 seasons has been pretty stale.
It has been a little bit stale, but I'll say this: I think it's kind of funny. When I very first got into soccer, it very much, was a 4-3-3. Total soccer was still kind of the general idea. And then you moved into like the 2010 World Cup and there wasn't a team not playing a 4-4-2, right? And now I really feel like a lot of these presses are just a reimagining of total football.
Yes.
The old Dutch way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a part of it that is.
It's kind of wild. It's wild how, everything is new is the same. The more things change, right? But
that's what's so cool about that history book by Jonathan Wilson, Inverting the Pyramid, and it talks about the tactical changes of soccer throughout history, and sometimes like the new tactic would literally be the old tactic flipped upside down, like they turned a W to an M. And that was the new tactical genius of the day. And then they took the M and they turned it into a Christmas tree. And then
how do we even get onto tactics, man? I don't even know where we started.
I don't know, but it's a good indicator. 30-minute. We did pretty good, Toke. Another good little show.
I think so. Oh my God, James is gonna kill me if we go another week without mentioning Caitlin Clark. But we're gonna have to go another week.
We'll go another week without mentioning Caitlin Clark. I think she'll be in the news for a while. I was a little disappointed she got left off the U.S. Olympics team myself, but People make the argument that, you know, she wasn't deserving. And I mean, she wasn't deserving from a statistical aspect from, you know, over 12 other players. But from a merit point of being the biggest draw in the WNBA, I think she did have a claim to a spot. I just, over who?
I think it's all about growth. I think if the Olympics was next year, there's no way you'd keep her off. But
100%, and that'd probably be an easier decision, a lot easier.
Right
decision.
now she just isn't ready. Let her grow. Like,
she's a rookie. She's still dealing with getting banged every freaking other play in the WNBA.
Yeah, I mean, I saw somebody like posted an interview where like, it's funny how she's the one she's the one handling all this nonsense about.
She's
Caitlin
doing
Clark
fantastic. Yeah, she truly is. She steps above it. But yeah, I'm rooting for her. I hope that they go back. I hope they change their decision and they bring her on, because that'll get me to watch. I don't know why they don't want people to watch. It really feels like this decision was made so people don't watch, because they literally cited the fact that they were worried her fans who were asking for autographs would be upset that she wasn't not getting a lot of playing time. That was cited as the reason that they did not select her to go. And to me, that is ridiculous.
No, I don't think so at all. That's why you didn't bring Zach Steffen to the Cup. If somebody doesn't want to be there if they're not playing, then it's better for
she
them
wanted
not
to be there. That's different. If Zach Steffen didn't want to play because he wasn't the number one guy, Caitlin was ready to sit on the bench and sign autographs and be the reason that people tuned into the Olympics. And just because she's there, people would have turned on the game and they would have been like, oh, she's not playing. Oh, that's okay. Diana Taurasi's rocking right now. Go USA. Oh, she's in now. Oh, hooray. That's what would have happened. And a million zillion other people would have watched. I can't believe they didn't want that. It seems stupid.
I think you only bring her to get people to watch.
Yes,
I think, right?
That's what you do. You only bring her to get people to watch, which is the name of the freaking game in professional sports.
No, the name of the game is to get the gold, brother. They want to win.
Yeah.
She wasn't ready. If this was 6 months from now, she might have been she might have been in the starting lineup.
She would have been ready in 6 months. I like your point. I think that's a great point. If this was 6 months from now.
It's just the timing thing, and timing works against people. Like, you know, timing sometimes works for people. Like if Hercules Gomez scored 20 goals in Liga MX in 2009 instead of 2010, you know what I mean? He might not have been on the World Cup. You never know.
That's a timing thing. It's a timing thing. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, talking about time, it has been time. Thank you everyone for joining. Like and subscribe, comment, punt that like button, all that good stuff. Let's go. And you know, it really helps podcast. Share this with friends you may know. We are a Chicago Fire centric podcast. You might not have been able to tell that from this episode, but we talk everything else, obviously. So come by. For DPG, who was saddened he could not be here, I've been FCneoTokyo. This is James. Sayonara.
Later.